Hello, and welcome to the Oracle report for the month of January 2026. Actually, not quite 2026 yet, right now for me while I'm recording, and we're almost there. So happy that you tuned in today. Welcome if it's your first time. So, I offer this Oracle report monthly towards the beginning of the month, every month. And the intention is to share different collective wisdoms and messages that I've gathered through sometimes themes that are coming forward in readings, through dream messages, even sometimes different clients that I have and friends will be getting the same messages. I'm getting that same message, and it gets woven into these oracle reports. Could also come forward from channeling or astrology. And the purpose is to help guide and align you in the upcoming month, but also beyond, because there's always timeless wisdom that comes forward. And truly, it can help you at any time. So I do always encourage you too to maybe go back and intuitively pick a past oracle report. I think on YouTube, you can go back maybe about a year or so. And then if you go on to Sacred Lights, that goes back about 2 years. And you can access some of the older Oracle reports, see, yeah, what your soul wants to listen to right now. So I start off by picking an oracle card for the collective for the month of January. I'll read some of that description to you, and then I will share the pictures of the full description on Sacred Lights. I also share them sometimes through my email list or on Instagram. So if you follow me there, you might be able to catch them in any one of those three places. And then after we share and go over the card for the collective for January, I will share the different themes and collective messages that have come through, that the guides have brought forth to support you. Um, so keep in mind that all the wisdom that comes forward, it is collective wisdom, so it applies to us each in different ways, and it can show up in really creative ways too, because we're tuning into spiritual information, which is extra dimensional. It's not limited by the material, by space and time, and everything that kind of limits us here in the body. And in this way, um, it can show up for us in kind of extra dimensional ways or very sort of funny, creative, non-linear ways. So be open and receive what aligns for you, what supports you, what nourishes you, and takes you into a space in alignment with your soul. And let go of the rest. And who knows, maybe some of it will make sense later. I also like to, and I suggest this almost every month, encourage folks to compare what comes forward to your own intuition, especially if you're working on your psychic development. And a lot of the times, this is one of the ways that we learn to kind of find alignment and find truth, um, by seeing, what does it feel like when something kind of resonates or doesn't? Because that often points us the way to both alignment and to the bigger truths. Um, yeah, so thank you for joining, and let's start. So today I am reading from a new deck, or I'm pulling from a new deck. Uh, Alana Fairchild, Angelic Lightwork Healing Oracle. The messages are short and the healing processes are a bit longer, but yeah, so you'll be able to go through the whole healing process if you feel inspired. And again, you can find that info on Sacred Lights and sometimes my Instagram or email list. Okay, let's see. Sweet. Technologies of love. Let's see what this has to say. I'm already being reminded of one of the themes that was coming forward. It's actually theme of fear. And I often see love as kind of the remedy to fear. Or I wouldn't say the opposite because I don't feel that actually fear and love function in ways that it's opposite. But I would say it's what brings fear back to wholeness. Okay. Hmm. Technology can be a blessing if you're willing to engage with it whilst also paying attention to grounding, presence, and boundaries. Your soul can utilize technology as a means for sharing love, reinforcing connection, and supporting your life path. You can learn how technology can support your spiritual path and relationships without overtaking your life or becoming a poor substitute for human to human connection. Here, technology refers to gadgets and communication devices, as well as methods of spiritual healing. There are practices and steps that you know will help you. Support yourself by applying these practices in your life. Balance the exploration of new methods with what you know will work in the here and now. Okay, that's it. Then there's a little healing process with Archangel Uriel, looks like. Right. So, I mean, I think probably most of us can take something from that message in terms of the technology with the gadgets and communication devices, as she said it in this description, where they've become a real force in the world and something that we have to, most of us, engage with to a certain degree. And how do we keep that healthy? And I've seen kind of a trend too, where um, maybe over the past 5 years or so, a lot of spiritual work has went online, and especially around COVID, that sort of shifted a lot of us to do that a bit more than we might naturally. But I think we were already going in that direction. It was already building that push us. But now it seems that there's a leaning towards, and I've heard this from other folks as well, but more in-person gatherings and um, how much kind of magic can come through when we can be embodied with each other and be face to face. I know that when I do readings, I don't feel that there's a loss ever, but when I offer energy healings, I feel that it's really different in person. It can be done at a distance and, time and space, our soul, which is where often a lot of energy work happens. It's beyond all of those limits and boundaries. Um, so we can do a lot of that work, even if we're not right next to someone, or if we're not even on the same planet. We can travel through that space time instantly, through dimensions instantly. And some of us have more ease with that or more comfort with it, but we don't actually need to be in person. However, I think there are these elements, first of all, of human connection and honoring our human experience that we start to miss out on when we're not face to face. Or if we don't have a good balance of the online, on Zoom, and face to face connection time. So I see that up in the collective already, and this kind of shifting starting to happen, and this reassessing like what is really healthy for us, what's a good balance. Maybe it's not like one is bad or the other is bad, but how do we create a healthy whole and work with technology, work with the maybe traditional ways or the ways of the past and the ways of the future and find something that brings balance. There's definitely like a transformational energy moving in our world and has been for quite a while, but there's a few extra right now as we come towards the end of the calendar that most follow. There's transformation that occurs in going into the dark and shedding and stepping into the new, and the sun being reborn at the solstice. We get that refresh, that opportunity to let go and to reframe our intentions. And how do we want to do that with our relationship with technology? And then when we talk about this, talks about healing technology as well, spiritual healing technology. Um, I could see that as coming forward in the collective as well, and where we have this opportunity in this kind of rebirth, the little and the big rebirths that are happening, the little and the big transformations that are happening personally and collectively, to say, hey, what really aligns for me? Are there old ways that maybe feel a little stale? Are there new ways that maybe feel out of balance for us? And you might be noticing mm, just like new practices, new teachings, new teachers coming about. And in order for us all to birth as a collective, that kind of next spiritual evolution, we have to each go through this process on our own of like finding authenticity after the rebirth and after transformation. And what does that mean for our spirituality and our healing? Um, we might we might adopt new practices. We might change directions, in that process. And that's whether you're in that camp or a different one is something that is yours to unfold. Okay. Mm. So moving over into the themes for January. One of the first ones I was coming through loud and clear is slow down. So it sort of speaks for itself, but especially around this time of year in the northern hemisphere where I am, there's often around the holidays and around the new year this um, this bustle energy, this movement, this tending towards overdoing it, um, and this feeling of maybe we need to revitalize ourselves for the new year. We have to make our intentions and resolutions and plan and um, like whatever's in alignment for someone for any season, it's in alignment, and I encourage that. However, what nature's doing around this time of year in the northern hemisphere teaches us that this is not a time to speed up. It's not a time to plant the seeds yet. We plant the seeds in the spring. We might be starting to get clarity on our seeds, and that's the kind of alchemy that happens when we go into the earth, into the dark, into the womb, into the ground, and we slow down, we rest, we go into the caves. And we need this just as much as we need to go into the expansion of the light. It's actually an expansion that happens within. And when we don't have that kind of time to give ourselves to rest, to replenish, to reflect, to go into the cave and expand within, then it's hard to emanate our light without in a way that is aligned for us as we start to take action, as we start to set our intentions. And if we kind of prematurely plant the seeds or set our intentions, then yeah, we might lose something in that process. And again, I say this like this is general. And this is how I see things in the collective and in our just relationship with the earth as humans. But I also recognize that we're all unique and we all have our own unique timing as well as the kind of how we're woven into the collective timing and wherever we are physically on the earth and how that affects us. So there might be some people who it really does align for them to be a little bit more outward, and it's not totally like we don't have to totally diminish that to encourage the slowing down. Um, so what was shown as the energetic of what is being cleared behind this message of slowing down in the collective is that this is energy of fear, really. There's a releasing of that that's happening, a fear that the fear is different in different folks, different parts of the world, different contexts, but it could show up as like, well, I'm afraid of missing out was one thing that was brought forward. Afraid of being judged, afraid of, ooh, trying to think of some of the other ones, afraid of being judged, afraid of missing out, afraid of not being a part of, this is similar to the missing out, but not being a part of the collective forwarding, afraid of being alienated or alone, afraid of um, being bad was what came forward. Like if we're going against the collective energetic, we might start to feel that like, okay, or I'm afraid that if I go against, I'll be alone. I've done the wrong thing. Um, but in order for us to get kind of clarity about what is truly right, which is really just about us finding our alignment with our inner truth and love, then we kind of need this slowing down right now. And we need to almost like purge and release another layer of what has been built into the collective that kind of guides us towards the like speeding up that happens around this time of year. And even if, I feel like this came through last one too, even if we changed nothing physically in our lives, we can find the place of slow inside. Um, so connected onto this message was also the message of stop. So looking at kind of what in our life we need to stop doing. And January might bring this up for us. What do we need to release? What do we need to stop doing? So, in particular, there was this message of stopping uh, the kind of grasping or control and stopping the fear and letting it kind of lead our lives. And again, we can't get clear on where fear is leading us or where we're being led by truth and love unless we find that time to slow down inside. And again, the emphasis is on the inside. You actually don't even need to take a lot of time, and you can still do some of the things you're doing, or you could say no to some of those things. But that allows us the space to see what am I doing that is leaning into the camp of like control and judgment. And that's probably like, what is that based on? Is it based in this a place of fear? Um, and what if that fear is valid? What of it do I need to kind of feel and tend and allow to move? What do I need to emote so I can allow the transformation within myself to complete, to take me into a place of more alignment and love. Um, So stopping the control, stopping the fear, and the only way to stop that, it's actually stop. I don't even love that word, but it's clearly what I was hearing, and maybe what some of us need to think of, like, how can I just stop? And what ways do I want to just stop doing something in my life? It could show up in like I actually need to stop with this habit, or I need to stop going to this place, or um, need to stop being on technology for the amount of time that I'm being on it. It could show up in all different ways. Um, so one of the things that they were saying, oh, okay, this might be a better addition. Stop and feel. That actually, it came through like that too. Stop and feel. So when things are feeling like crisscrossed or out of balance, or if you're feeling tired, or just not in alignment, not quite yourself, like you might want to look at that. You might want to invite that in, just play with it and see, all right, if I stop, what needs to be felt right now so I can move? The guides did bring up that if we don't do this and it's something that we need, there's this kind of potential likelihood for life to stop us if we're not stopping ourselves when we need to stop and feel, or stop and heal, or stop and rest. So, we might get sick, or just have some kind of situation that sort of forces us to slow down or to stop, and gives us a little bit more spaciousness. Um, there's also this piece along with this, and kind of building on the releasing fear again. Um, Fear around the Earth's and humanity's future was coming forward, and how can we work with that instead of holding it in our systems? We might need to give ourselves a little bit of space to slow down, to stop, to feel those feelings, feel the sticky, difficult parts of it, and then in doing so, um, we can come back to our place of alignment, to peace, to knowing that we're always held in the divine dance of life that our soul has chosen. And that will give us clarity. From that place, we'll have the clarity of, okay, maybe there's some action I need to take, or maybe I don't need to take an action. I just needed to feel it. And that's kind of my contribution to the collective movement here. And how can I let go of needing to control the future, or let go of fear for the future of humanity or Earth or the animals, the plants, and trust in kind of, something that came up last month. It's like karma to do its job. Trust in the divine holding of all that is. You don't have to hold it all. You only need to hold your peace. So what do you need to feel as part of that peace? And once we do that, what starts to happen in our future is we're actually like co-creating with the divine, because we've chose to come back to a more aligned frequency of love and truth, and that creates our future. And it's sometimes, um, like we could skip over the feeling of the fear and the letting it transform us. And in that, we might be doing more like spiritual bypassing, but that's really different than feeling it and letting it, surrendering to it, and letting that trust be your bedrock in the process of rebirth and transformation and life. And that leads you to a different place where you're not spiritually bypassing. You don't jump over those feelings. You allow them to move you. You allow them to, you allow their intelligence to transform you, because you know that you are safely held in the divine, and maybe you're setting your intentions to be always in highest alignment for the highest good and in service. And as you hold that intention, you know that that's like the truth of your heart, what you really want, truth and love. And that's holding you. That's your sort of will in it all. That's what you can control. But that's coming from your place of sovereignty and power, which is really different than trying to kind of control something so you don't have to feel fear, um, or so you don't have to feel something negative, or so you don't go into despair, or yeah. And so, and as we do that, we will each kind of know what actions to take to create a more aligned future. And I'm not saying like, okay, everything will be healed overnight, but when we come into that place of alignment and we know what action to take from, say, maybe our fear, worry, hope, desperation, despair, um, of the future of humanity and of the earth, and it's difficult to see like all the destruction and feel that and truly be present with it. But what starts to happen is that as we together um, feel, heal, allow things to shift and move and not need to be stuck to the past because that's what's been or that's what so and so tells us is right, but we're just gently midwife that into a new future. The seeds that we plant, the fruits that we bear, allow errors and injustice to start to be drawn up and corrected and restored. And that restoration is another really important word for this month, for ourselves and for the collective. Part of each of our work is a piece of that collective restoration. Now, we won't see all of it. We might not even see all of it in our lifetime, honestly. But the more that we can trust and just kind of stay in our lane, do the things that we are meant to do, the more we contribute to that happening. We allow the divine to take care of the all. We don't have to control it. We only need to stay in our love and our truth and be aligned to that and let our choices be informed from that place. Okay. All right. So there's also the energy of Magdalene coming forward to support folks a little bit extra in the month of January. So as these things are coming up, where we might be working with um, the ego, power, control, fear, um, or in Mary Magdalene's terms, the seven powers, also named previously, in my opinion, incorrectly, the seven demons. But these things that we deal with in different ways as we're human. Magdalene wants to support folks, and she wants to support folks to, like, especially this working with the surrendering to divine timing and the allowing of our humanity, the trusting of our body. So a few messages here that were coming forward. Another one was working with receiving and reception, and how can we allow ourselves, in particular, to receive our soul, receive nourishment from the earth, and know that like we are full and like our soul is full no matter what we encounter, what unfolds in our life. That is our spiritual truth. It is abundance and fullness and prosperity. And how can we let our cups um, be full spiritually? So Magdalene's guiding each one of us with that, in particular for the month of January. Because as we do that too, like we start to heal the collective wounds around emptiness that lead many folks to addictions and unhealthy habits and the fear and the wanting to control, um, rather than kind of again being in our sovereignty and our power, very different energy than trying to control. being in our sovereign will and co-creating with the divine from a place of love and truth. That's different. Um, that might lead people to um, hmm, one more piece. Maybe we'll come back. So she's supporting us to fill up. So we don't have to find things that actually don't fill us up. And there's a lot of in the collective structures, these patterns that actually encourage that, right? Like the consumerism and the capitalism to a certain degree, but this just sort of we've stepped out of the wholesome regenerative cycles and not just in physical ways in terms of like our food and the things that we buy and that's all out of the cycle, yes, but there are other ways emotionally and mentally and spiritually. I mean, not truly, it's not actually happening in the spirit, but like in our relationship with spirit, we've kind of stepped out of these um, wholesome cycles. And this makes us feel often fearful of the future, right? And going to that place of control. This makes us feel not safe and not fulfilled. And there is an energy right now that as it shows up in January, it might show up as like a challenge. You know, again, it could be an illness or something that feels like difficult, where you just like all of a sudden have to deal with these denser layers of maybe in the mind or in the emotion or in the body. But what is actually happening in all of that is we are learning to kind of restructure in the collective. We're doing our piece of that work so that we can have a more wholesome relationship with the divine, with spirituality, and there's like this change that's happening there, as I said earlier, um, but in other ways too. Also, the relationship with the different layers of our own mind and heart, emotions, and our body. Um, how can we allow that to just move through us in the way that we are meant to allow that to move for this month? So Magdalene is supporting folks. And if you haven't picked up the Mary Magdalene Oracle that I was a co-author in, I would encourage you to. And if you have, maybe try one of the practices that calls to you this month. There's a lot of beautiful stories in there and practices to support people. And this might help you um, to to receive her wisdom this month and her guidance as we're navigating some of these sticky layers and working with them together as a collective. Okay, another piece that she wanted to share is this encouragement of spiritual expression. And, if we're not coming from a place of authenticity or we have these layers of any kind of fear, judgment, or whether it's from us or from others, um, in our field, then it's a little hard to know how to express ourselves spiritually. So I want to say that finding that first, doing this, the slowing down, the feeling whatever you need to feel, whatever feelings might be up for you, and seeing if you can come to allow yourself to come to your spiritual purity, your sacred center. And then from there, then certain actions might want to move through you or ways of being. Like, how do you want to express yourself? And there's an encouragement from Magdalene and from other guides this month to contemplate how you would like to express yourself, because there's this rebirth energy. Even if you're currently spiritually feeling expressive, there's like basically like a wave of energy that's moving through humanity that allows us to revitalize and restore because again, it's like there's new being born through. And in this, there's this message about release. Again, release. There's a lot of release this month. Release and surrender, but release feeling limited. And that can be hard because sometimes we actually can't change some of the limits that we experience. Um, and it came through as releasing feeling limited, controlled, or restricted, even if nothing changes physically. Um, so, what was said around that is that um, okay, sorry, here. If you can't change anything physically, and you might be able to, you actually might be able to make little tweaks, but what is more important is not the the physical, but it's your internal state, your frequency, the place that you're coming from. So the truth of our spirits is actually it's unlimited, right? Um, Not like the truth itself is unlimited, but our spirits are unlimited. They live in that realm. They're eternal. They're not controlled or restricted or limited. And there might be, mm, see, when we're in the spiritual realms, when we're really like authentic to that, there might be like we won't want to go to, I don't know, this other dimension and do this other thing. It's not like, oh, someone's stopping us. It's actually within us that we know, oh, that's not quite what's best for me. Where it's just so pure, like the truth is just kind of immediately available. And to us here on earth, it's not quite the same. And we experience these feelings of being limited, controlled, or restricted. And that is, it's a part of the journey. And it's not like we're trying to get rid of that. And again, we're not trying to spiritually bypass here. Um, the message around this was to embrace and to, again, stop and feel, stop, feel, heal, just like allow the movement of whatever it is that you feel. And as you're allowing this to move through, as you're honoring your experience as a human, you're honoring the body, you're honoring your experience of feeling limited or controlled sometimes, you also know within that, again, like coming back to the bedrock truth and faith underneath it all, is that your spirit is free, unlimited. It exists like beyond all limits of time and space. And you have an inviolable, I can't say this word quite right, unable to be violated, sacred purity that is you. That is your deep truth. And that won't change despite what you experience. And yet you must allow yourself to experience that and allow those two beautiful things to start to merge within you. And that's kind of the part of the rebirth and the transformation is that harmony and union that happens between our human experience and our spiritual truth. And when they're in conflict, we end up being in conflict and suffering. So that is something that I think Magdalene is great at helping with, and she is definitely supporting this. It's like the kind of coming together of our human and our spirit and feeling just appreciating and feeling this human journey as it is, and knowing that there's this sacred purity that is eternal in you, that is unlimited. And how can we find expression for that in the body and trusting the body and just inviting that deeper eternal truth of the freedom of your spirit into expression. What way does it want to express for you? Um, okay. See what else is here. So there's also this message about kind of the coming together of not only the body and the spirit, but also the masculine and feminine within us, and um, the inner and outer expressions of us. So one of the things that was said in terms of the spiritual expression message too was that we can actually we don't always have to express outward. Sometimes we can express inward, like our choice to rest or slow down or just take some time to read and reflect. That can be a spiritual expression. So this was emphasized in that some of us might, when we think of expression, lean towards this like outer, this pushing out. And right now, again, in the northern hemisphere and in winter, there's a lot of going in that's needed for most of us or for the collective, and especially because there's so much of that scaffolding that humanity has created that encourages folks not to go in, and there's some fear of going in. Um, So you might find some spiritual expression through in, and we're finding this alignment that's happening between our inner and outer selves. And that's part of a moving transformation happening, especially in January, and a moving transformation that comes with our masculine and our feminine sides and all the other sides of us that we get to experience in our humanity. And through this, the part of the gift is, and there's shifts happening, that we trust our place. Again, coming back to that concept. Um, and as we trust our place, this is something I was hearing alongside this. Um, if you matter, you matter. So no matter what you're doing here on earth or not doing, if you're in a body, if you have matter, if you're on the matter, the mother, then you have a really important and sacred place in this divine tapestry and the growth of the consciousness on earth and in this part of the all of creation in the universe and the solar system, in everything in this dimension, in other dimensions. You have a particular weaving. If you're here, that's you're important for this weaving. And how can you allow yourself to just find, that constant alignment with the authenticity of where you're meant to be, trust in your place. And as this, okay, the energy is like there's a shifts coming in. This allows us to harmonize and to align our inner and outer, our masculine and feminine, our spirit and our human. And that harmonizing allows us to find our right place. Um, and through that, yeah, it's really like the process of kind of enlightenment and embodiment. Um, and this prepares us to vision and to align with, again, our sovereign will and our creation for the future and our intention. And there will be, through this process, new ideas of what you would like to intend. The kind of those winds of change have moved through, they're still moving through, and they're going to clear, to help release, to help you kind of get down to some layers to process, and then come to a place after that as we move towards February where there's more clear vision and intention that's forming inside you. And it's beautiful and exciting, and you have more of an idea of what is going to be new and coming next for you. Um, and there was just kind of one more piece here that I'll share before we wrap up, in terms of these winds of change and the transformation, and surrendering to the transformation of winter and earth and whatever is rebirthing within you, surrendering to the feelings, knowing that you're held in the all and you can trust that transformation that as it happens in you. Um, so this message was you can't go back. Um, so being present where you are, trusting the future as it unfolds. And we don't have to be afraid to walk into the future. If you're here, you matter. You have a place in this great unfolding, and enjoy it to the best of your ability. Okay, so that is it for the month of January. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for tuning in. I so much appreciate everyone who listens, and I send my gratitude, my love, and blessings to you as you move forward in January. Please, if you haven't already, would you like this video, subscribe to the to my channel, and just as a reminder too, you can join us on Sacred Lights, where I will share the full card description. Okay, lots of blessings for January. Again, thank you. Take care.